it's everything. Your lead gen, your marketing, your sales, your onboarding, your technicals, your reporting, your strategy.
I'm a principal and co-founder at Scoob. Essentially, we help e-commerce companies drive more gross profit through paid ads and analytics. That's essentially the essence in terms of what I do. Currently, I'm more responsible for sales and marketing for the team, and I still help out with the team, with some kind of like more complex problems so that the team members encounter, like maybe a bigger account, more complex account, maybe like there's some sort of kind of like technical element that the team needs help with. They typically ask for my help in that area, and just kind of like overall, like more like strategic, strategic direction in terms of, let's say, how we, pretty much like how we move forward. How do we kind of like take it, to the next level? I've noticed that you have to have kind of like a yin yang between different team members. So you have to have someone who is good at kind of coming up with direction, coming up with products or services that one should sell, having kind of frameworks or processes in terms of how they should be delivered based on what your observations in the market. Then sell them, and then the other team member has to be responsible for operations, essentially making hiring, making sure that team members stay with you for a long time, making sure that the client retention is high. We essentially making sure that pretty much we deliver what we promise. So I'm that first part of the team.
But it is the perfect split. It's essentially front of house and then operations. It's like it's the sales versus the work.
Yes.
And trying to mix that is a nightmare, especially for the agency owner. And I think the agency owner can get the most out of doing the sales, not the operations. But we cling on to the operations because I think a lot of us start off technical, especially in the SEO or PPC space. We start off as technical or the doers.
So initially I was both.
Yeah, well, that is the solo founder's sort of diction, isn't it? It's everything. Your lead gen, your marketing, your sales, your onboarding, your technicals, your reporting, your strategy. Yes, and I think that there's not necessarily a revenue number, but I mean, I haven't even looked at my own flowchart, but I have a flowchart for agency priorities where I believe that you should be prioritizing in stage 2 of my flowchart to split operations out from essentially front end stuff. And I do believe that agency owners should be at that stage, like the 25K a month kind of agency, so still small, should have a dedicated operations. Now, you might have a co-founder that does that. So how long you started? Because what's your turnover roughly at the minute?
So it's close to 1.2 mil a year.
And how long you been around?
Since 09. So close to 15 years this May.
15 years. So 100 grand a year of perfect growth.
The beginning was choppy because I was when I started it, I was actually doing this on weekends, like for 4 years. So it was kind of like almost like a hobby.
Yes.
A little side gig. Then in 13, I started actually at full time.
Okay, so officially 2013, we'll say the agency started. So you went from freelance to agency.
Yes.
Yeah.
We could call it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say since 13 full time. Then in 14, my wife joined because then I was like, I think we were doing like 200K a year or something like that. And pretty much like I could not handle everything because there was a ton of stuff to handle. And but at the same time, I did have some freelancers that did not, some did work out, some did not. And maybe it's a big lesson, I would say, if you can, either get a co-founder or hire someone full-time to help you. The big problem with freelancers is that, sure, they're temporary, but at the same time, there are points, especially, when you're a young agency, the temporary factor is not a good thing because actually I've had freelancers, raise rates like a few times on me, and I'm like, shit, I can't afford this anymore. Yeah, I would say it's important. But yeah, then in 2014, she joined B, and then there was a pretty much like 2 person team. Then next year we had 2 more full-time employees, and physical office. I'd say like 4 years, we were doing like less than 300K a year, something like that. But then there were a few jumps, which is actually I started focusing more on marketing because I realized actually up to maybe when was it? Maybe up to 2015 or so, I fully relied on referrals,
Mm.
and my network wasn't massive. Um, so, and at the same time, it's like, well, how do you know people? I mean, you're not going to ask your neighbor if you need like PPC services.
Not
So,
unless you want a bad client.
yep, exactly. So yeah, so I think that that when I started to actually implementing some marketing our company, then things started changing. Started getting more leads. Then I realized actually I'm not that good in sales, so I needed to train up on some sales processes and some sales activities. We were offering too many services to pretty
Mm.
much like almost like everyone. So that's kind of like I'm sure you have talked to, and quite a few others have talked about. I think that you don't realize until you actually do it yourself, and then you actually kind of get burned from your mistakes. But in 2015, we actually had we actually redid our brand, and we did our pretty much like we established a more specific specialization.
Mm.
So we essentially got rid of SEO, like social media stuff, like websites, and just focused purely on PPCs because we actually
This
how we
sounds
came.
very much like my journey.
Yeah.
I
So
went
what,
full service, hit 300K.
okay,
Uh, did you plateau a bit at 300K?
prior or after specialization?
So after, so did your specialization? So,
Oh yeah. Okay,
so you
so
went down to being PPC.
yes,
Uh,
so two things happened actually, and it was actually bad.
okay.
So what happened was we hired this branding agency, out of Brooklyn, New York, and they were actually cool. They actually helped us to kind of come up with that because they were doing like brand positioning and all of that. They came up with like a new logo, helped us actually to come up with a new name and stuff. And they did this exercise, and throughout the exercise we did kind of like an 80/20 analysis, and we have realized that pretty much like most of the revenue was coming from PPC. That was like one thing. We were getting most results from PPC, and actually we enjoyed it most. After this, it kind of like felt like we were doing favor, to some clients by helping with other areas because pretty much like maybe we're not as good as we could have been, or maybe like we had like the wrong clients for back in the day. But yeah, that helped us to actually focus. The other thing that we have done is that we have realized it's like we actually had to say no to lead gen clients. So we said, you know what, we're going to do this for e-commerce because we've noticed that back then we were not able to help problem solve lead quality issues. So we would get a bunch of leads, things would look good from our end, but then clients would say, well, it's not a quality lead, blah 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 blah. And back then, since there was not a lot of specialization in the team, um, you know, I didn't have like the mental capacity or expertise just to kind of problem solve for that. So we actually dropped as like the lead gen side. And what happened was that after we announced it and after we fired a few clients, we lost a couple big clients. And it
Did
was
you
like
did you
we're
think you'd made the wrong? Did you think I've
I did.
made the wrong move?
Yeah, because we almost reached like 300K that year. We announced it. We lost a couple of clients, and actually two team members left. So then there was like two of us left, and our revenue dropped like next year by like almost like 100K, and it was just like shit.
But
We shot ourselves in the foot.
but
Uh,
everything became easier.
yes, and but then it was like there were a few things that started happening. So I still continued on the referral route.
Hmm.
So we I partnered with some agencies that are full service because previously you could not talk to anyone who's full service. Hey, I'm full service too. How about you send me some clients, right?
Yeah.
that would, but with our specialty, then uh, we were able to start partnering with some agencies that they were full time, pretty much like full service. They offered everything. They had a wider client base, and we were kind of like a specialist arm for those agencies to help them with more complex PPC accounts.
And we all have different paths. My path is very unconventional, but it it has taken 14 years. I wasted about 7 years. Well, I hate to say I wasted 7 years. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a mentor. No experience. So those 7 years were very, is experiential even a word? I don't know, but I learned a lot, and I learned pretty much everything I shouldn't be doing. If only I had a time machine. But yeah, maybe I should have got a coach when I first started. It was rocky, but